He is a triathlete, a former educator for 30 years with the Milwaukee Public Schools and a coach. And now here in retirement, he is not slowing down. In fact, he's competing at the highest levels in the senior games. And I want to learn more about this. So I want to invite in John White here to the Wisconsin Live Desk as we're going to talk about a new honor he was just given. John, thanks for joining us here on the Live Desk.
Thanks for having me, Mr. Holman.
So tell me about this. You have just been named a Humana Game Changer. There are thousands of athletes about to compete at the senior games, and they've picked a handful of them, and you have been named one of them. Big congratulations to you.
Thank you.
What is a Humana Game Changer?
They could have picked, there are 12,000 registered athletes, and they recognized 10 of us. So that's pretty small.
What is a game changer? I mean, what did you do to kind of stand out of the crowd here a little bit? I think I've just picked up on your energy through the emails that we've had together, and I guess, quote unquote, being a senior doesn't slow you down at all.
Well, you have to make the commitment to training. Most of the athletes, triathletes, I mean, whether you bowl, swim, golf, pickleball, whatever, you normally develop a nutrition plan and you have to train. I was just thinking in regard to this right now, we're talking about the heat and what you're talking about, the weather. Over the last couple of days, it's been 90 plus.
You're right.
When you have to go outside and run when it's 90 degrees or more, it's very challenging. I've been biking in 90-degree heat for the last week or so, and you can't say, well, it's too hot. Well, it's not too hot because the national competition in Des Moines, Iowa is going to be, in the last couple of days, has been over 90 degrees. So when you get to a competition, you have to be ready for that temperature, which is 90 plus degrees. So even though you're a senior, if you're an athlete and you're competing, you have to train. It's interesting that we did a photo shoot, and this is two of the three pictures that they took out. Here I'm riding a bike, and then over on the right, I'm running. But I ran, I mean, those two pictures probably took an hour before it was good. It was a lot of fun.
You're happier moving than standing for a picture here. Tell me a little bit about yourself, because you do have an incredible background. You were an educator for 30 years in Milwaukee Public Schools and a coach. Where did you teach? What did you do?
Okay, I was thinking about this recently, and when I was in high school, I had teachers that said, you should be a teacher. You should be a teacher. You should be a teacher. And the teachers had told me that were math teachers. And they had became close personal friends, guided me through high school, encouraged me to go to college. I was fortunate to I had good grades as valedictorian in my class.
Wow.
I went to school locally here at Whitewater. I got there, I played football, and the coach really took me under his wing. After a couple of years of playing football, I needed to do student teaching. And so I asked him, I said, I'm going to be really, really busy with student teaching and classes. I had jobs on the weekend in Milwaukee. I worked in the dorms at Whitewater. And he says, I'll tell you what, why don't we do this? Why don't you just get on my coaching staff? It'll be a lot less rigorous. I said, that'd be great. He says, I'll even pay you. I said, you don't have to pay me. I volunteer, do anything. And so I coached my senior year. He asked me to come back, which I did. And while I coached for him for 2 years, I also worked on a master's degree. And when I got that, then I came back. I came to Milwaukee Public Schools. I wanted to teach mathematics. I taught that for a while. They said you can be a counselor. I had a master's degree, so I became a counselor. I wanted to be in athletics because of my athletic background. So very quickly, I became a vice principal. And the school spun out my athletic background, so I took over the athletic department. My first year I was at Washington, 1984, and one of the greatest accomplishments that I've been able to be exposed to was a guy by the name of Clyde Russ. He had a fantastic program at Washington High School, and he won the state tournament there in 1985, and I was part of it as being the vice principal and athletic director. And then I've worked at multiple other schools, and I've done a lot of other things. I started doing the triathlon. First, I did swimming, but I wanted another challenge. A friend of mine said, "Hey, have you heard of triathlon?" I'm going like, "No, what's that?"
Yeah.
He said, "Well, you swim and you bike and you run." I said, "What's that?" He told me. I tried it. I was horrible. Just like if you did a triathlon tomorrow, you go like, "This is not for me."
I would die if I did a triathlon tomorrow.
Well, you and me both. I almost died, but I didn't, and I continued. And I would do anywhere from 3, 4, 5 a year, and I did that, I believe, for about 4 years. And then I joined a team here in Milwaukee area, and they asked me to run their team. So when I joined their team, there's about 20 people. We built that up to about, oh my goodness, a good 200 or so. And that was just fantastic. And that really kind of put me on the spot to helping people like yourself who really didn't know a lot about triathlon. So I was able to help many, many, many people.
Well, I'm just looking through your stats here. You have run now over 115 triathlons, 275 road races, and here we're about to go into the Senior Games. Tell me about those games. How did you hear about them? When did you become involved? And you've never missed one.
Correct. What I did is when I was competing, when I was under 50, a woman, a sweetheart, Agnes Reinhardt says, "Hey, you ever hear about the Wisconsin Senior Olympics?" I said, "What's that?" She says, "You ought to do it." I said, "What's that?" He said, "Well, you got to be 50. I said, "Wait a minute. I'm not 50. No, you got the wrong guy." So I gave her a hard time, and she was a sweetheart, and she was a lot better than I was because I didn't train at all. So she said, "You ought to buy a bike and train on it. You ought to run and get equipment," and which I did. Then I got to be as good as she was, and then I got even better. Then when I turned 50, before I turned 50, with my amateur triathlon team, I got people who were 50 and above to compete. And I said, "Okay, go ahead, compete." And it was after a couple years, she came to me and said, "You know what? I want you to take over being the event coordinator for Wisconsin Senior Olympics for triathlon."
Oh, wow. You went from not doing it to running the whole thing, huh?
Right, yeah. So when I was 50, I started competing. But before I was 50, I was helping her recruit athletes who are 50 and above to compete for Wisconsin Senior Olympics. And then I took over that event. Then she says, "Well, why don't you do the 5K as well?" So I took over that event. And then I helped other event coordinators in cycling and swimming, et cetera. And then the board president says, "You ought to be on the board." Well, at that time, I was running the amateur triathlon team. I just didn't have the time. And then I transitioned to an elite triathlon team. And that's a whole different story. That picture right there is me at Pittsburgh. And that was my second national senior games.
Do you have to qualify for the senior national games? You win your state and then move up? Is that how that works?
Correct. Just not Wisconsin, all 50 states. You compete in one of 20 different sports. You take first, second, and third, as you do in the Olympics. Then you qualify for the National Senior Games. And then it is the athlete's responsibility to provide their own transportation, flights, hotels, rental cars, etc. After I got on after I transitioned to running a sport, they asked me to be on the board. I was on the board for a couple years, and they asked me to be the president. I got to be the president. Then went to the National Senior Game Board meetings representing Wisconsin, and a guy from Minnesota asked me to be the regional coordinator of all 8 states in our region: Iowa, Ohio, Michigan, Illinois, etc. And then we built Wisconsin Senior Olympics. The numbers got to be huge because just not me. There are many other people, like I call them like-minded. We would go and get everybody and anybody. Can you swim, bike, run, pickleball, cornhole, whatever? And we would reel you in. And before you know it, the numbers are great. The numbers going to nationals were great. And then the National Senior Games asked me to sit on their national board. And the reason I bring that up is because there weren't that many athletes on the National Senior Board. So one of the things I asked them to do, if you go to the National Senior Games board, I had the experience, but a lot of other people don't have the experience of traveling. So I would talk to athletes in Wisconsin and says, well, how are you going to get to New Mexico? I don't know. You going to drive? I don't know. You going to fly? I don't know. And so what the National Senior Games Board does now, you can go to their website, click on it, and there's a link there. And you can ask them for information on traveling, hotels. It's just fantastic.
There's more help there. I want to ask you, John, because as a guy who didn't like being called 50 at a time when you were under 50, now you're 74, and
Yes.
it just seems like you are going on strong. What message do you have for other seniors who maybe need some inspiration in their lives to get moving?
I thought about that recently, and the way we got around it when I got on the board and I started recruiting athletes was not the word senior.
Yeah, that scares a lot of people.
It scares some people. We connected senior with athlete, and if you put them together, people don't have a problem with that. Oh, you're a senior athlete? Oh, okay. You're a senior athlete. What's your sport? Swimming, golf, tennis, volleyball. We have 3 team sports in volleyball, softball, bowling, golf. And so a lot of people, 50 and above, they don't mind being associated with being called a senior athlete. Nobody wants to be called a senior, I guess, even if you're 90. Oh, you're 90 and you're a senior? Oh, my goodness, you must be old. We've gotten around it. Some other states struggle with that, but we didn't care. Well, we wanted you, and what is your sport? And we have something for you. I don't care what you've ever done, because we got some people who just got off the couch. They didn't do anything.
And that's the important. There's so many studies that show both physically and cognitively, as long as you're staying active, the benefits, they are so great, especially when you're hitting retirement age.
Yeah, it's interesting. One note I'd like to share with you is I've been blessed with good health, and I work at it, of course, and I've been very lucky. And I go in for physicals. I've been doing this every year since I was 50. I just went in for my physical, and the only reason I'm bringing this up is when they do that, and you're aware of this, they take some blood, and then they analyze it for cholesterol and prostate and all kinds of stuff. And one thing I just shared with my wife is I looked at the numbers, because they send you this on a report. This is really kind of great. And I looked at the numbers, and then I looked at what it was last year, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, 4 years ago. My numbers in 2025 are as good, if not better, than they were in 2017.
Good for you. And a lot of that's
when
probably
you get
due
older,
for
you want to be healthy.
Yeah, you're training for these triathletes. Well, we wish you luck. Congratulations on being named the Humana Game Changer. It must be very special. I don't know how you took the news when you found out.
I was driving, and the guy interviewed me, and one of the things I put in it was I had done the triathlon is the most difficult sport that there is, and I had done it 11 times in a row already. That got his attention, and then we talked about training and how I did it, and ups and downs and different issues. And then, are you going to do it this year? Have you qualified this year? And I told him yes. My wife and I are going to Des Moines, Iowa again this year, which happens to be, I believe, in about 4 weeks.
Yep.
So we're excited about going. Right now, if you've never trained for a triathlon, it is very challenging to swim. I just swam for over an hour before this Zoom call, and the difference, you say, what is the difference between being 74 and 54? What did I do 20 years ago that I'm not doing now? I'm competing now, but I don't go as hard as I go. I don't go as fast as I go or long as I go. And also in the sport of triathlon, you can do what they call brick training. You say, what is that?
Yeah, what is that?
You go for swimming like I did, and when you come out the pool, your bike's in the car. You get on your bike and you bike 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 miles. You can put your bike back in the car and then you go out for a run. I do that, but you really have to be careful because you don't want to get hurt.
Yeah, exactly. Well, we need you to keep competing. We need you to keep inspiring us, and we really hope you good luck at the Senior Games. That Humana is sponsoring this, and obviously they're handing out Game Changer awards to just a few people, and we are so proud that a guy from Milwaukee who has inspired so many at his time in Milwaukee Public Schools and with the athletic department, we really appreciate. We're proud of you. You're our hometown guy now. We hope you win it for us. So thanks for joining us here on the Wisconsin Live Desk.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
Good luck.
Good luck in your future pursuit of being a triathlete.
Well, I might start at ping pong when I turn 50, and then maybe I'll work my way up to the triathlon.
You can do it.
I am taking this clip, and I'm going to save it whenever I have doubts. John White, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it. Man.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Awesome interview there. We're going to have to follow up with him and see how he does out there in Iowa coming up, as he said, in about 4 weeks for that big triathlon. All right, here on the